Thursday, 39th of
Likutei Torah, Behar, page mem base, first column, midway through the first column. Okay, so Alter Rebbe is explaining basically that Neshama is coming down is Yirida Tzedek Aliyah. We want to understand what the Aliyah is Lamaila afterwards. So he asked the question first, what does it mean, Matan Schoim Shal Tzadikim La'asad Lavai, if Gan Eden is now? So therefore we must say, La'asad Lavai means Tchias HaMesim. Okay, and then he asks, why is the main schar, why the Ikar schar dafka Neshama in a body, not out of a body? So he starts explaining there's a Sefer Kolalman, there's Mamala Kolalman. The Neshama really has nothing to do with the body. Nevertheless, a ray comes into Sefer and Mamala and all that stuff. So this is where we're up to now. 1 minute. Oh no, I'm not halfway. 2/3 of the way down. The Gilui of this Hamshach of the essence is called Ein Sof. That means the Ord is Ein Sof. There's no limit, there's no end to this Ord. Why? Because it's a ray of the infinite. If it's a ray of the infinite, then itself is also infinite. Because Hashem is infinite, therefore the ray of that level, that's not Yashmiyayin, really. It's Or Ein Sof. So that, in a certain way, it is Yashmiyayin, because this is essence which is never revealed, and this is the Or. What? It's infinite. First of all, it's not really infinite. I mean, it's the world of Bria and Yitzira, so it can be infinite. Relatively speaking, it's infinite. Everything is relative. Okay, skip a few lines of the parentheses. So now the question is, if Or Ein Sof is infinite, how could this Or create limited worlds? So he says, Hainu machmas kamet tzimtzum minei tzimtzumim. Shaya ba'or shali is bechinas gili Ein Sof b'gvul midah. He says, what happens, Taka? This Or is infinite. But in order for this Or to create worlds in a limited way, there has to be many, many tzimtzumim in order for Or to become limited, to create a limited world. Because if infinite would create a world, the world would be infinite. This is all the level of Mamala Kolam, the way it permeates the world, deals with the world. That it comes in a limited form. And therefore it shines at every level accordingly. Like we learned in the mashal of the neshama in the body, the koyach of riyah comes into the eye. So it comes into the eye and not into the foot. And koyach hadibur comes into the mouth. And therefore this is all limited then, coming into that particular keli based on the level of the keli. In the beginning of this Mamala Kolalmin, what is the first level? Basically, Vishtalshalis is a level of Chochmah. And then, really speaking, this level is not even like one drop compared to the whole ocean system. It's nothing. That's why Chochmah is called Yesh Miyayin, a Chochmah Mayin Timotzi. Because this level of Chochmah, which is so great, nevertheless, compared to the essence, it's not even like one drop in the ocean. It's only the level of Sefer Kolam. That infinite level of Elokus that doesn't come into Mamala, relative to Mamala, is infinite. Why? And he says, "Ve'ein pir seviv shamakav malmaila." It doesn't mean seviv that it's only above and not in. Because there's no place outside of Hashem. If you say that seviv is not in mamala, you're saying there's a place Hashem doesn't exist. So what does it mean? It's not grasped and understood. Not like the neshama is the mislabeshes in guf. In other words, Al Rebbe is saying this level of elokus, that's seviv, is not the pshat, it's not there. When you say, Moshe, clothing are makif, so they're not internal. But you can't say that by elokus. By elokus, there's less asaponim in it. So therefore, what does it mean? It means it's there, but it's not grasped, it's not seen, it's not felt, it's not understood. Why is it called Seviv? Like the Pasuk says by the Malachim. Pirish, it's like eagle katan, b'seich eagle gadol makifim, mikol hatzdadim. It's like a small circle that's in a big circle. So you can't say the big circle is not in the little circle. The big circle is in the little circle too.
It's a symptom that you don't see.
What?
It's a symptom that it's a contraction that we don't see.
Correct. That doesn't mean it's not there. That's the whole concept of Simpson.
So Sober is in Mamala is in Sober.
One time, let's see what he says about this. You can't say Mashiach of Lamaila, that what's above the small circle, Mula Yes Mashiach of Lamata Betachti Seifin Akotten. Kiafin Agodlu Shavu Mamish Mumailo Mata. The big circle is in the little circle too. It's just that the little circle limits it a little bit more. But you can't say that the big circle is not in the little circle because it's all part of that circle. The kach erin tzal second column. The same thing erin tzal baruch shavo mashve kotten v'gadol is equal, big, small. It's all equal because compared to infinite, there's no difference. 1 and a trillion are the same. Small and big are exactly the same. And therefore it says, V'ezeh causes what the Pasuk says in Zeh Sabrach, Me'ein alekei kalim is the dwelling place of Hashem. U'mitachas re'eselim shulamata kumei l'mayla. That Hashem down here is exactly the way Hashem is. L'mayla ni avai lo shenisi. The only difference is, not as far as he's concerned, the difference is only as far as we're concerned, our perception is that he's not here. Therefore, because Sefer Kolam is so infinite, a level that top and bottom is equal, highest and lowest are equal, therefore the revelation that comes from Sefer to Mamala, Hikleich Shiva, is mamish nothing. The Gabi Aragon is an Elam, compared to this hidden, concealed light, which is not, and therefore it's called Sefer Kolam. In other words, the Alter Rebbe is saying like this: Chacham Amayin Timotzei. Chacham is the beginning of Mamala, right? Chachma comes from Keser. Keser is Makif, Seviv. So he's saying the level of Chachma, which is the highest level of Mamala, is zilch, nothing, worthless compared to the level of Sefer Kolam. Like when you say it's connected number-wise, one, has a connection to 1,000,000, 1,000,000. It's only 1,000,000 less. Million times less. But compared to something which is infinite, there's no connecting whatsoever in any number. A trillion compared to infinite is the same as 1. Not any different. What?
Trillion is closer to infinite than one.
That's not.
Trillion knows that it's not one.
What it knows, not what it is. We learned in the past, one and a trillion, whatever, are the same compared to infinite. The only difference, so what's the difference? The difference is one's conception of infinite is like a billion. Wow, what's infinite? Like a billion, right? A trillion understands what a trillion and realizes it's still infinite away from infinite, so it still doesn't know what infinite is. But he has a greater understanding what infinite isn't than a billion or one. That's the only difference. But the reality is they're equally distant from infinite. It's not any closer. It just is perception of what infinite isn't is more than what's infinite, what one thinks infinite is. It's a big difference than what you said. It's not closer. Were you taking over his job? Therefore, there's no connection whatsoever between the art that comes into the world. Therefore, you can't compare a finite revelation of Mamala to the infinite save level revelation of the neshama. And now we can understand what the neshama elevates to by coming into the body. Right? Why? Even though it says that all creations of the world came from Dibur. Neshamis says Olu b'machshava came from the highest level of machshava. It's still, the machshava is also mamala kolamin. There's seichel midus machshava d'imanamayis. It's also mamala kolamin. Shemekeidem b'chinas chachmei ilah. So what is the aliyah? Skip the 3 lines. Aliyah is galus earning sof. She'yeh la'asid lavi b'zman atchiyah. So therefore, where does the neshama elevate it to itself to? To the level of Seviv Kol Almin, which will be at Chis HaMesim. So neshama in Gan Eden is still Mamala Kol Almin. It's only Ziv HaShechina. Where the Ziv is super holy, super great, yeah, but it's only a Ziv. The neshama, through coming down into the body, doing Torah mitzvahs, it comes to the level of Seviv. And the truth is, Chassidus explains, Chis HaMesim is not a Ziv, it's the essence. It's not even, and he says, therefore this Gilu of Lasid Lavi will be in a Sham in a Guf. Because compared to that level of Elokus, Neshama that comes from Machshava, and all the other spiritual worlds that come from Dibur, it's all the same. So what's the difference if it's a neshama out of a guf and a neshama in a body? It's all the same. Therefore, this gilu, because it's so infinite, will dafka come into asiyah. So what's the purpose of the neshama coming into the body? By doing Torah mitzvahs, the neshama reaches a level of the infinite. Again, everything is relative. According to later on in Chassidus, it's the essence. You reach the essence. And then we learn Gashmis reveals the essence more than Ruchnias does. That's why it's going to be Dafka in Neshama in a Guf. Okay. Shebishvil ze yarda neshama b'guf. That's the purpose of the neshama coming into the body. K'dei l'kayim mitzvahs ma'isi is dafka. Dafka to do action mitzvahs. In Gan Eden there's no world to do action mitzvahs. They still learn Torah there, but they learn Torah ruchnias, not gashmias. We can learn many times. How do they learn Torah and Gan Eden? It says, it's the famous Mishnah, they give two examples of Chassidus. Shnai meichs and betalis. Two people come to Bezdin holding on a talis. This guy says, I found it. This guy says, no, I found it. I bought it. Yeah. How do they learn that? There's no talis up there. So how do they learn that concept? They learn garments are mitzvahs, levushim. Torah is food, this is a garment. Shnai meichs and betalis. In Gan Eden, they learn the din like this. Two neshamas are fighting over a mitzvah. This neshama says, I did it. And this neshama says, no, I did it. It's like shatchanim, you know. There's 30 shatchanim. Everyone says, no, I made this shidduch, I made this shidduch. What?
There are no mitzvahs up there either.
Correct. They do mitzvahs beruchnias. Hashem puts on tefillin. Okay, neshamas in Gan Eden don't put on tefillin. But Hashem puts on tefillin. But it's ruchnias to get tefillin. It's not gashmias to get tefillin. What?
So, Ma'aseh Yikam, that only applies
Down here.
down here, not up here.
Because this world is an action world. In Gan Eden, there's no ma'aseh. Or another one is a machlek part of a chamor. The Mishnah Bava Kama says a guy exchanges a cow for a donkey, okay, and the cow gives birth, and they don't know was it before the birth, before the trade, after the trade, who does the calf belong to? Okay, so the other machlek part of chamor, there's a yetzah nefesh shabam is called para, there's nefesh shabam is called chamor, and whatever. So they learn it in ruchnias. But because the neshamas come down to do mitzvahs and gashmias, because the ultimate purpose of creation is dira b'tachteinim, Hashem wants Elokus revealed down here, and dira is latzmusei, the dira is the essence of the person, so therefore the neshama comes down. That's what happens. Like it says, Ayem la'seisa. Therefore that is all right, and neshama b'gilgal gama pa'amim. The neshama reincarnates itself until it does all tayag mitzvahs, with the exception of mitzvahs of a king, a kohen, whatever. That's going to be the gilul l'osadov, and that's the union of schar mitzvah. Simply in Pirkei Avos, when it says schar mitzvah, it means the reward of a mitzvah is you're going to do another mitzvah. Mitzvah mitzvah. But the Alter Rebbe Tanya says, Schar mitzvah, the reward of the mitzvah is the binding, is the connection. He's going to explain soon. So he says, this is the purpose of the neshama coming down from the Mamala Kolalman of Gan Eden to reach the level of Sefer Kol, which is infinitely greater. Why is that? Okay, we'll start this. What's the purpose of all mitzvahs? We learned Hashem created the word yesh me'ayin, right? That it's a yesh that doesn't feel elokus. The purpose of a Jew in the world is to make the yesh back into the ayin, meaning that the yesh should become batul to Hashem. Kol amit la'apech hayesh la'ayin, hainu sheyibit la'yesh, it should be bit la'yesh to the ayin. That means the world should become batul to Hashem. How does that happen? When the neshama comes into the world and does Torah mitzvahs, then he makes the gash mystic thing batul to Hashem. No problem. That's why Chazal say the whole Torah is likened to tefillin. Because in Kaddish Kol Behar, we say about tefillin, the mantiyas Torah Hashem beficha. It says by tefillin. So Gemara learns out the whole Torah is likened to tefillin. Ki tefillin kreisen echad al klav gashma. Because what do you write tefillin? You write Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad on physical parchment. Shesharshim eklipas nega, that the shadish of this kosher hide comes from klipas nega. Yesh min b'chinas ayin, and we make it ayin shenase keli elokus, to make it the keli for elokus, that it should have Hashem Echad on it.